self-esteem is something that many kids struggle with today. This next young lady helps kids reach their full potential on her digital platform. Her goal is to increase their self-esteem and confidence. She's the founder of Youth Enrichments, Chicks with Class, and the new enrichment platform called Get Enrichly. You all, let's get started with Margo Baines. In action. I am so excited to have our next guest. Let me just tell you, this lady right here is doing some phenomenal things when we think about pouring back into our young girls. Margo Baines is here to talk about the importance of self-esteem in young girls. Hey, Margo!
Hi. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so excited to have you. So let's just dive right on in. Now, thinking about self-esteem, let's just first tell the people, what is self-esteem?
Yeah, so self-esteem is confidence in your worth. It's like self-respect. So when you think of self-esteem, you're thinking of a healthy self-esteem, and it's thinking that you are worth it to not only somebody, but you're worth it to yourself as well.
Yes. And why is it important to actually pour into young girls' self-esteem?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of people don't realize it, but unhealthy self-esteem is attributed to things like teen pregnancy, self-neglect, violent behavior, even suicide. So it's super important to nurture this self-esteem in these young girls so that they grow up and they realize what their full potential is, and eventually they will reach their full potential.
Yes. I love that you said that, because I don't think people actually pay attention that negative self-esteem is what contributes to all those negative factors, like you said, teen pregnancy, depression, suicide. Like, these are huge. And when we think about what's going on in the world today, there are so many things that go against our young girls versus going for them.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about, how can the parents of these young girls pour into self-esteem daily?
Great question. So I get this question asked a lot, actually, from my parents. And the one thing that I'll say is stress positive affirmations. As an adult, I say positive affirmations daily. When I wake up in the morning, I spend 5 minutes on positive affirmations. This is something that we need to get our girls in the regularity of doing, is saying these positive affirmations. I am amazing. I am able. I am abundant. I am beautiful. I am brilliant. And say it constantly so that you're believing that. And once you're believing that, it's going to show in everything that you do. So I think that's the first thing that parents should also do. One of the second things is gratitude. Teach your children to have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
So teach them to be grateful for the small things. Even if things aren't going perfect, they're going the way that they should, So teach them to be grateful for everything that they have. That's a huge self-esteem booster. And I would say one of the last things is mindset. Teach them to have a growth mindset for one, but also a positive mindset. Not everything is going to go the way we think it should go, But I think if we get our girls into the habit of thinking positively, regardless of what is going on negative, then this will allow them to develop that healthy self-esteem in a way where they're looking in every situation like, okay, well, even though this didn't go my way, maybe that's not how it was supposed to go. So let's try it a different way, So those are a couple of ways to, pour into your children and really help them to develop their healthy self-esteem.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you said a growth mindset. That's huge. Let's explain to parents, what does a growth mindset look like?
Yes. Okay, so think of if you have a pen and a pencil, right? And let's say you're writing on a piece of paper with a pen, and then you're writing with a pencil. With the pencil, you can erase if you mess up, and then you can start all over again. But with the pen, you think things are like permanent. So growth mindset is thinking that you're writing with a pencil instead of a pen. Because everything, you can fix anything, right? You can change your mindset in a minute. Literally, it only takes a split second. But if you think things are permanent, it's more difficult for you to change that mindset.
Yeah.
But when you're writing with a pencil, you can erase and start over again. So you think of every day as a new start or a fresh start. So that's how you can sort of understand what a growth mindset is.
Yeah, and I love that example of think of it like a pen and a pencil. Pencil, you can erase and start over. A pen is more permanent. I think that that's a great way to actually break it down to the young girls on their level so they can understand that as well. Because I hear a lot of times parents say, well, no, you're good with that, but they don't listen to me. They don't listen to me. And I'm like, maybe it's the way we're talking about it. Could actually get them to listen. Would you agree?
Okay, so here's my thought. Because I have children. And though I spit a lot of knowledge and I have a lot of gems, you know, but there is something about when a parent tells you something versus someone else. Yeah. Which is why I have this concept to where I'm giving my children the information, but they're hearing it from somebody else and then they'll listen. Yes. As long as they get the information, that's all I care about. You know, as long as they get it. As long as they get it. So honestly, I don't think it's much so in the delivery. Like, our children listen to us, yes, but it's not so much in the delivery, it's in the method of delivery.
So when we think about the negative things that girls are dealing with on a daily basis, which is way different from what we've actually dealt with when we were younger, because there's so much more exposure, let's talk about those things that parents need to be aware of on how it can actually negatively impact our young girls' self-esteem.
So one of the major things is social media. I think with today's day and age, like the girls today, they have direct access to everything on the internet, you know? Yeah. And us as parents, we can sometimes forget that. So they have direct access to things that literally impact them within seconds. So I think being more aware of how to use social media, how to monitor your child's use of the internet, and really limit their access and limit the use. I think those are all things that parents should consider. And then honestly, I think it's also a matter of who's influencing your child, right? Yeah. So who are you allowing to be in your child's space? Yeah. Is this someone who has good character? Do they exhibit negative behaviors? You know, because kids are like sponges, you know, they pick up everything, and they might want to try things that this negative influence might want to try, you know? So I think it all boils down to what you are allowing your child to have access to, you know, and the internet is a huge one. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I've had parents like even talk about, well, how do you keep them off of social media? Because they're going to do it anyway. I'm like, who pays the cell phone bill?
Very much so true. You know, so there is a company that I had actually partnered with named Gab Wireless. They offer cell phones to children, but they have no access to the internet. So
love that. What's the name of the company?
Gab Wireless.
Love
and it's literally like their mission is really to undo what social media and the internet has done to children. And they have a focus on self-esteem development in kids as well. So literally my son has the phone and he treats it like you would think there's internet on the phone, but there's no internet. He has no access to games. It's literally just, you can call me when you need something, text, take pictures, whatever, but no internet.
I love that. Gab Wireless.
Yep.
I love that. I think that that's a really great thing. Y'all hear that, parents? Gab Wireless is what you definitely want to get for your child. I think that that's really great. And then also, you know, another thing when we talk about social media and knowing what they are being influenced by, I think it's important that parents are on social media as well, so you can monitor them. It's not about you're going to go and be their friend on social media or anything like that, but you need to have access and see what your children are looking at, because it's so easy for them to get a friend request or to have someone follow them that is not in alignment of what you're teaching at home. Yeah. That you can't stop if they are on social media. But if you are paying attention to, you know, monitoring their accounts, if you're focused on, okay, let me go and check out what's on there, going through the friend list, paying attention to the DMs, because that's a big one right there.
Yes.
You know, I think it's going to help with that if your children are on social media.
Totally agree. I also think that parents should be aware of what we're exposing ourselves to on social media.
Come on.
Because it's like we can't preach something to our children, but we're doing like the exact opposite.
Come on.
Like it's so easy for us as adults to engage in negative activity on social media, leave a negative comment, or like judge someone from whatever they're posting. So I think if we are also paying attention to what we're exposing ourselves to, we become more aware of what not to expose our children to.
That is good right there, Margo. I know, seriously, because it's like, children pay attention to what you do more than what you say.
Exactly.
And so if they are seeing that you're constantly having positive things poured into you, you are only connecting yourself with positive things, godly things, making sure that you are following a specific guideline that you're trying to teach them to follow. They're more apt to actually follow that as well, because that's what they see.
Yep.
So I love that you said that. Love that you said that. Okay, so let's think about when you were a young girl.
Yes.
What is your self-esteem story?
So, and this actually ties into why I started my company. So growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as a little girl, I had low self-esteem, and that led to a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms, bullying or self-neglect, low academic achievement at times. I really had to, it wasn't until I reached adulthood that I developed my social skills and I was able to realize what my full potential was. And because I had all of these experiences as a little girl, and it was all tied to low self-esteem, literally, I thought to myself, okay, what if I created something that was missing for me as a little girl, for other little girls? Like, what would the world look like? Right?
Yeah.
So, I have a direct sort of correlation and relationship with unhealthy self-esteem, and I know what it can do, right?
Yeah.
I know what it can do. I know what it can prevent you from doing, and not only in little girls, but people in general. We all go through these things where we feel like we're not worth whatever. We feel like we need so much outside sort of promotion, and we're not getting that promotion from within. We're not getting that growth from within, and let's solve that issue first. Let's figure out how we can develop a healthy self-esteem. And I've heard a lot of people tell me, well, if a child's self-esteem is too high, they're going to be self-centered and they're going to be selfish. And it's like, okay, well, we're not getting children to that point. We're developing self-esteem so that it's healthy. Obviously, too much of anything is not good.
Right.
So it's like, let's figure out how we can develop something that's healthy within these children so that they reach their full potential the same way that I did when I grew up into adulthood. Yeah.
And I love that you said that, like people are talking about, like too much self-esteem, they're going to be this certain way, but there's a difference between being confident and cocky.
Yes.
You're teaching them how to be confident, and confidence includes one of the things that you said is important to build their self-esteem at home, which is an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah. For sure.
When you learn how to be grateful for everything in life, you're not going to get to the cocky parts.
Exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of people, I'm so glad that you mentioned that word confidence, because you can have all the confidence in the world, but still have unhealthy self-esteem.
Exactly.
Like, so it's literally figuring out why you're worth it. I went to a Grant Cardone's conference not too long ago, and I heard Alex Rodriguez, he was speaking about how he had to deal with his childhood traumas before he was able to realize his worth. And he obviously made the decision to take steroids as a professional baseball player, and he almost ended his career. And he had to understand why he made that decision. A lot of us don't realize we make these bad decisions because it's coming from a place of unhealthy self-esteem.
Yes.
It's coming from a place of low self-worth, and you self-sabotage. So because you have confidence in something, good and well, you're very capable of doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But because you have low self-esteem or unhealthy self-esteem, you're not even going to pursue it because you don't feel like you're worth that achievement.
Yes, that is so good, Margo, because honestly, thinking about it, like they don't go hand in hand, and you can be very confident in one particular thing but still have low self-esteem in other areas. That's why it's so important to build that positive self-esteem, making sure that you're pouring into it every single day with your affirmations, with the gratitude, making sure that you have the growth mindset versus, okay, the light, my world has ended simply because one thing didn't go my way. So I love that you actually said that. Now, when we think about our girls today and their current struggles, the things that they are going through on a daily basis, we talked about social media, the negative impacts they could even have at school, all of the outside sources. But like you said, it's also about what's going on in the home, because they see you and they see certain things and they're sponges and they're taking it in, right? So what if there's a parent that's saying, I want to help her with her self-esteem, but I'm not there yet?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
What would you say to her?
Such a great question. Honestly, you make a conscious decision to build at the same time, right? So when you notice yourself sort of not exhibiting this behavior, you have to make that conscious decision to change that behavior in a second, because your child is watching and you want better for your child, right? So, and it's literally, it's work, right? It's easy to just say, okay, I have unhealthy self-esteem, I don't want to fix the problem. But it's more difficult to actually face it and actually deal with it. But it's when you make that difficult decision that it makes a major difference, because now that you've dealt with this issue, now you're realizing what you're most capable of doing. And that child who is watching you, they see that as well, right? So then they grow up and they're this super confident, but has healthy self-esteem to go along with it. And now they're putting these goals that they wrote down on paper, they're putting them into play because they know they're worth achieving.
Yeah, I love that. And it makes me think about what you said when you were talking about, like with A-Rod, he had to get to the childhood trauma, knowing the why behind it, so you can actually deal with what's going on today, right? Why do you think some people struggle with getting to the why?
My opinion is that people don't like to feel that pain. They don't, that why exposes so many different emotions, and people don't want to feel the pain, and that's just the bottom line. I think when you do realize that source of pain and you're in the middle of it, it's so difficult to say, to turn back, right? To say, okay, I'm just gonna cut it right here. I don't even want to go any further, because on the other side of that, you have something where you're really reaching these goals that you set forth, right? You're really reaching your full potential. And we hear about potential all the time, reaching your full potential, realizing your full potential, but you won't do that until you understand why you do these things that are self-sabotaging, why you do these things that have no good end result. And people just don't want to feel that pain. Honestly, they're not obsessed with the success. And when you don't feel that, you just end up being average, right? That's just what people do on average. They don't dive deep into the why, and then, hey, now you're here, right?
Yeah. So thinking about your why, because you're doing what you do today for young girls because you were once that young girl. You said when you were a young girl, you dealt with a lot of different negative things. You didn't have that positive self-esteem. So you want to give the younger you what you didn't have. So even thinking about your why, let's give that powerful statement onto this is it, on why I do this and why you should do it too, pouring into our young girls.
So for my why, and I think when you dig deep into that why, it takes more than just being motivated in the moment, right? Because we're motivated every other day. But it really takes the discipline. It takes the discipline to really sit there and say, all right, let me figure this out. Let me figure out what is really going on, with me. And I don't know, for me, it was more so of, I just didn't want to be average. I just don't want to be average, and I want everyone to see that you don't have to do what is average. You can do more. And if you want to do more, it's going to require more of you. You have to pour into yourself constantly, every day, even when you don't want to. I tell myself this like when I don't feel like going to the gym. I'm motivated to go to the gym every day, but I still go, and that's where the discipline comes into play. I still go, and I feel the burn, I feel the pain of lifting those weights or doing those squats, but I'm like, in the end, it's gonna benefit me because I'm gonna have this little summer body or whatever the case is. And I think we should look at dealing with these issues within ourselves the same way.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's sort of like I compare people to cell phones, right? So we're on cell phones all the time, every day. It's helping us get through the day. But at the end of the day, the cell phone has to charge. It has to
You better come on and say
So like we are literally like, so you have to recharge yourself. And recharging yourself, it comes down to figuring out your why, right? Dealing with whatever issues you have. And honestly, sometimes we even have competing commitments. And competing commitments are disallowing us to figure out that why, because we know if I figure out this why, then I'm unstoppable.
Yeah.
But then so-and-so is going to look at me like, well, how is he or she able to do what I was not able to do? I don't want to go on the other side because people are going to look at me like, well, how did you reach that level of success? And then here comes the jealousy, and then here comes the whatever. But then again, it all goes back to, all right, you have to have the discipline regardless to figure out the why.
Yes. That was good, girl. I love it. Have the discipline so you could figure out the why. When you figure out the why.
During the summer, Margo Baines had the opportunity to speak at her very first TEDx talk, and it was phenomenal. Be sure to click the link below to check out more of what she had to say about girls and self-esteem.
Listen, you become unstoppable.
Yes.
Like Miss Margo. Yes. All right, Margo, tell them what's coming up next for you. Tell them where they can reach out to you, follow you, support you, all of that.
You can stay up to date with me on Instagram, Margo J. Baines. And Facebook is just Margo Baines. If you also want to get your kids involved in some more self-esteem based learning, then check out my new platform. It is called Enrichly, and it's getenrichly.com.
Yes, getenrichly.com. I love it. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you coming to share some information on why it's important for us to pour into our young girls' self-esteem now versus waiting until they become adults. You know,
Yes.
I truly appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being transparent with your story. This has been completely phenomenal, and I know it's going to bless so many people.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I so enjoyed this interview and these questions. I think what you're doing is amazing. So kudos to you, and keep doing these.
Yes, you better come on and encourage me. Thank you, girl. Thank you, Margo. I truly appreciate you.
No problem.